A reading from the Gospel of St. Matthew. Then Jesus entered the temple area, and he proceeded to drive out those who were busy selling and buying. He overturned the tables of the money changers and the benches of those selling doves. Now let me be clear here. Sexual abuse is a tough subject, and it's one that may serve for a trigger or as a trigger for those who have endured traumatic experiences or for those who have endured any type of abuse. So if you need to take a moment right now, before, during, or after, to process, to get to that safe space, please do so. But in this space, I want to clearly state three things, because some individuals who have experienced sexual abuse have been told otherwise. Sexual abuse is not the will of God. In fact, no violence is. It is sinful and it is criminal. And it is an injustice. And as a society, we don't like to talk about it because it's taboo. And for those who have experienced sexual abuse, it's hard to talk about. Because when they finally get the courage to talk about it, they're re-victimized, re-traumatized. And because of those two factors, because it's taboo, because society doesn't know how to have an intelligent conversation about sexual abuse, we become conditioned in a sense. We put the topic of sexual abuse and the reality of it at a convenient distance. And it lives in this underworld, and it festers. Our church is evidence of that. And because we can't talk about it, we don't want to think about it at that depth it needs to be thought about. Right? We put up mechanisms that prevent us from thinking about this as a societal injustice, and we rationalize it. It's relational. It's between an abuser and an individual. It's a one-on-one dynamic without the scale of impact as other issues that impact us greatly. Hello, Boston. Hello, Ireland. Hello, Chile. This is happening. Hello, Pennsylvania. Hello, Buffalo. 13 state attorney generals have called for records because they know there is impact. There is a scale of impact behind this issue. Our church does too. Just took a long time. And so today, as much as I need to acknowledge the darkness of sexual abuse, I don't want to stay in that darkness. That's the work of the devil. The devil doesn't want the church to rise. But I do. You do. As members of the liturgy committee were planning the prayers and mass for this weekend, we knew we needed to make mention of sexual abuse, especially given the similarities and experiences of others speaking out right now, such as in the Me Too movement. Because as many of us know, we sit in that space with our students and they disclose to us the hardship, the heartache. And so we knew we needed to address this. And so I'm here today, we're here today to pray with you. To pray that we can raise our collective hurts and hopes and prayers for healing, for a church impacted by sexual abuse and hurt by church leaders. And I want to pray for our church. I want to pray for our church in this extremely uncertain moment, that she may be reminded that her disciples act for justice. I want our church to know that when our bishops and cardinals fail us, the witness and testimony of Siobhan O'Connor will not fail us. She flipped the table. I want our church to know, for those who came forward and come forward to report these crimes, they will be honored through action, advocacy, and change. They flipped the table. Jesus flipped the table for justice. Now, I love this gospel story for a lot of reasons, and it's mentioned in all 4 gospels. And if you read each story, You get a deeper sense of Jesus's emotions, Jesus's actions and belief in the sanctity of the temple. In the Gospel of John, Jesus comes like Superman, right? He comes with cords and whips and attitude. If you read the Gospel of Mark, you get a different Jesus. He takes on more of like a Clark Kent persona. A Jesus who asserts himself. He doesn't come with the same physicality of Jesus and John. And like Clark Kent, he kind of geeks out a little bit. He geeks out over his rightful concern of preventing people from aiding and abetting those he just threw out. Think about it. Hey, Johnny, Jesus just flipped my table. Could you go get my oranges? Jesus says, no, don't act as a secondary agent to these sins. Some people in our church miss that message. If the body is a temple, Jesus says, keep your posture upright spiritually and morally. And so, regardless of what gospel you read, the message is clear. Jesus is angry. He's angry at the temple being violated. In our Catholic tradition, we don't necessarily dwell on the fact that Jesus is angry. Sure, we acknowledge he's angry, and then we move past it. Yay, Lazarus, yay, miracles. But we don't dwell in that anger. And Jesus is using his righteous anger to address injustice. And so my question now is in prayer. Do we or can we offer that righteous anger? If you are church over an injustice, can you offer the prayer, God damn, knowing where the comma is? God, comma, damn, I'm angry. God can take our anger. After all, God birthed it into our world at injustice. A co-worker of mine shared that prayer with me, and it has given me such fullness as I sit in hurt. But I also sit with such great hope. And if you were standing where I am right now, you would see that hope. The church in this moment, as a holy nation, is called to act for justice with our own flipping the table moment. The call for us is to cleanse our church of this injustice of sexual abuse, to cleanse our church of the systematic tiers of protections offered to clergy members who committed these sinful and criminal acts. The call is to cleanse our church of the pervasive acts of complacency by others, to not speak out, to not act for those abused by clergy and therefore aided and abetted this evil. My friends, God is acting, and God is empowering us to reclaim our holy nation, to cleanse not just the church, but all temples in our lives, corporate and campus, industries and institutions. My friend, God is on the move. God is cleansing Google, Hollywood, USA Gymnastics, television channels, national syndicate news programs. God is removing CEOs, news anchors, and church leaders. But God just isn't focused on the exterior, right? Our God, a God of compassion, a God of mercy, is also cleansing the burdens of our brothers and sisters who have endured abuse. God is cleansing their hurt, be it decades old or new in these moments. He's giving courage so that they can voice their stories. God is also cleansing the burden of many, of all clergy members, many of who are in this room who hurt at this abuse, but who faithfully love and serve the vocation of the priesthood. Yeah. And maybe you're still in that moment of, what about me? Where God at with my church hurt, right? So this is my suggestion. Can you give God your church hurt? Can you give God your righteous anger? Can you cleanse your temple so that when you do, God can channel that hurt through hope to action to justice? because God needs you as a holy person in this holy nation. And when you're ready, God's going to ask you to flip the table.